Hey everybody, Cole here. So this is my process on how I make river tables. So right here, I'm just cutting out a river that we eyeballed from a picture from Google. I'm using a surfacing bit on my router to take out about 1/8 of an inch of material just so you have something for your epoxy to sit into. It doesn't have to be real deep by any means. Here, we went to the dollar store to get some acrylic paint. So this is an acrylic metallic aqua color. We're just using it as a primer base coat just to hide the wood grain a little bit. We just thought on this time we'd try hiding the wood grain because we have other tables that show the wood grain a little bit, and that's not a problem, but this time we just wanted to try something a little bit different. So our next step is I take a Varathane triple thick clear coat. So the clear coat is basically acting as our sealer to just make sure that there isn't any pinholes or anything that we can't see that the epoxy is going to leak through because it's very thin. And then, as you can see here, I brought it inside, put down some painter's plastic just in case you do get any leaks, you don't wreck your floors. You can see it on the ends here. I made L brackets at a 3/4 inch melamine. Epoxy doesn't stick to the melamine, so that's why I used melamine. Next, I sealed all the joints and everything with silicone with at least 2, 3, as many times as you want. Just silicone the living hell out of it so you don't get any leaks, because you don't want to lose any money on that. So this is the epoxy that I use. It's a 2-to-1 liquid plastic, so you use 2 parts of part A of the resin and 1 part of the hardener. Down in the bottom corner there is the mica powder. So it's mica powder is what they use in like soaps and bath bombs and that thing to give it some color. This stuff, you mix all 3 parts together and it takes about 72 hours to cure hard enough that you can sand. So because I have such an irregular shape, you have to do your length times your width times your depth. And I took a bunch of different widths just to get a rough estimate of the width. So it's 71 times 9.2 times 0.125 gives you 81.6 cubic inches. Punch that into Google, you get 1343 mils. Divide that by 3 and you get your volume of the part A and your volume of the part B. So the next part is we combine our resin, so part A and part B. Part A, you can see in the cup here, is pretty cloudy and you want to get it as clear as part B. So to do that, you have to warm it up. So you can either put cup A in a bucket by itself like this and use a heat gun, or you can just take it and put it both, like the cup, in a bucket of warm water and heat it up and be constantly stirring. You want to constantly stir this stuff for like a good 3 to 5 minutes. I usually do like 10 just to make sure that everything's gonna be combined so you don't get any sticky spots and it's cured for sure. And here we're pouring the resin, making sure we pour our ends first, just because if there anywhere is gonna leak, it's gonna be the end. So then we can get out some aluminum tape or some tuck tape and fill on any leaks that we have. So we just got her poured, and you can see that the epoxy still settles out like in this corner, like this design won't stay in. So for the first 20 minutes, half an hour, all we do is patch holes and make sure we got a good seal on everything. I use aluminum tape. If not, go use some like 20-minute silicone and reinforce everything. And you can also use tuck tape to help seal up the holes. So this is about 16 hours later, and my resin and everything is about to get to the point where it's setting. So it's pretty sticky at this point. So this is how I do my design. Honestly, just take a spoon or a popsicle stick or whatever, just anything to etch in your design. You can do like the swirl technique and that kind of thing as well, but we just like to make them look like they're flowing, so that's how I do it with that. And then my final step, I got all the design in, and it's to the point where everything's like pretty smooth. There's some surface bubbles, and you can see from like the glare of the window that it's a little wavy yet, and there's a little dimple there. So all you do is take a heat gun on a low setting. That'll pop your surface bubbles. That'll even out that little divot and everything, and then it'll give you as smooth a surface as you're gonna get, unless you get it like perfect level. Next, we brought it back outside. You can see I knocked off the forms and there's some melamine left over, but don't worry, the sander takes that off. So on the belt sander, I have 40 grit, and then I used 80 grit, and then everything else I used a random order with sander from 120 all the way up to 240 grit, and that's as high as I went. After sanding everything all down, I went to the dollar store, got 5-minute epoxy with the same pigments just to fill in the gaps on the parts that I messed up and over sanded. Next, I brought her inside and got Watco wipe on poly, and this is the first coat. I'm probably gonna do 3-4 coats for sure, and maybe even more than that, and sanding with 220 grit in between. And a reminder, just throw your poly rags on the ground so they don't spontaneously combust. So this is the final product after 6 coats of polyurethane. Got her up to a super high gloss, and it's really smooth to the touch. So that's my process on how I make river tables. Now I just gotta throw some legs on it and it's done. Thanks for watching the video. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell people you don't even like.